So, this is the Costa Rica trip. Start of the trip when we were on the plane. Me and Trent and Tito ready to get out of the country and get our trip started. Got to watch Anchorman on the plane, which is one of my favorite movies of all time. I like a lot of Will Ferrell movies, but it's the first few when we got out of the airport. From here, I could tell it's going to be a good trip. I mean, we're probably 3 seconds out of the airport, and the views are already looking really good. More views from the bus ride to the hotel, and then this is when we were walking to Soda Tapia. Walking through a park, got to see a fountain. It's really cool looking house. I feel like it's not anything crazy, but I just really like the style of it. So I took a picture of it. This is what I got at the restaurant. Soda Tapia is arroz con pollo. It's kind of different for me to have rice and beans and then fries. And then with the salad too. It seemed pretty random, but it was pretty good. Sorry about that. This is all of us. We got back to the hotel. We went to the pool. Got a hot tub. And me, Jonathan, and Trent just chilling in there. For breakfast, I try to have as many different things that were there. It looked like a lot of carbs, I know, but it was overall really good breakfast every day. Just different kind of desserts I'm not used to, but I enjoyed trying them. They're all really tasty. So this is the first full day, so day 2 of the trip. This is us at the school with the children, and it was cool to see them, even though we obviously couldn't have a full conversation with them since they spoke Spanish, and we did not, but it was still cool to see them having a good time with the crafts that we brought them, and that was the air dry clay, the magnets, and then just drawing with them too. They seemed like a cool bunch of kids. One thing I had noted was a few car brands that I saw that I don't recognize. I'm guessing it's just popular in Costa Rica, not in the U.S. And it was Aeon, Suzuki, Geely, and then GAC Motor. I also just want to note, around this area, I saw a lot of barbed wire. That was kind of common closer to the hotel as well. But I just wanted to point that out. And then there was kind of a lot going on around this area, but there were still kids just walking to school on their own, even through the chaos. And yeah. So we made different things with the air dry clay. I made a traffic cone and a street to put it on, and Slade made a policeman. And that was our little project. We had people made dinosaurs, headphones, a hat, flowers, heart, and then eventually a couple of the children jumbled all of the clay up, and it just looked like a huge blob. That's Trent. And a couple things we learned along this bus ride were how people from Nicaragua, the Dominican Republic, and Colombia would flee to Costa Rica during tough times in their country and stay there a couple of years so they can get citizenship of Costa Rica, so then they could apply for a U.S. visa, which is interesting. Some more views after. I think this was a soccer stadium. Don't exactly know what this is, but I just took pictures of structures I thought were cool. I don't really know what this was, but I thought it was pretty cool to look at. This is the Waterboy jersey from that Amazon return store we went to. Um, and this is when we were walking around downtown. Lucy gave the guy some money and he popped out. I don't know who this was, but I felt like I had to take a picture. So, this was the post office. Very cool, different looking than, the ones we have here. Typically ours are just small, boring little buildings. And, then to see this is like, put a lot of time into it. I believe this was a statue of the guy who led a counterattack. I could be having that flipped. I'm not completely sure, but important guy in Costa Rican history. This is just another picture. A payphone you don't see much of, and this was one of the museums we stopped by for a little bit. And that picture or camera, sorry, JFK. It was like cool to see him in Costa Rica. You could tell they appreciated his time there. Chinatown. I believe this was a jade museum. I didn't end up going inside, but it did look cool from the outside. I tried to get as wide of a picture as I could, but the building was huge. So, dinner. Before I go on to the next day, I'll just talk about some other things I had in my notes. So, we saw there's statue of the president who did his time right before World War II. He was pro-Nazi, and there were talks of removing his statue because of that. But he did a lot for the country, so they kind of decided to stay with that. And then, in addition to that, there were other figures who had statues and were also pro-Nazi. So if they took away his statue for that reason, they would have to remove a lot of other ones. We learned about the revolution that moved the capital to San Jose. And it was cool because we saw different embassies along the drive. I didn't get pictures of them, but just like casually passing by different embassies for different countries. So we saw like the U.S., China, and I think a couple more embassies. And we also got to pass some ex-presidents' homes. We learned about that loop that you drive on that took 30 years to complete, and about how popular soccer is. We were told that soccer matches are more popular than the presidential inauguration. We learned that San Jose was the third city with power in the country, or in the world. And yeah, and then I also noted the statue of the guy who led the counterattack. We stood on the second largest gold museum, and we saw a fountain that was supposed to represent the center of the city, but moved a little bit away because of how busy the intersection was that it would have been on. We saw the National Theater, and we learned that coats of arms are reserved for government institutions and official representatives, so not many people have them. We walked to a couple stores that felt a little sketchy, but it still felt safe at the same time. It was kind of weird seeing barbed wire and stuff, but it was quiet on the streets we were on. But I found it cool to walk along that city. It was just it was just very different. It felt like it kind of reminded me of New York, but not at the same time. It was its own thing, and I found it really cool. Just the uniqueness of the downtown area. So now on to day 3. I enjoyed it. Breakfast again. I had chicken stew that I didn't even get a picture of because I ate it so quick. And more just architecture that I thought was really cool. More scenery. So this, I believe, was on the way to the volcano. Yeah. So now we're here, and it was kind of misting, and not that far of a hike actually, but fortunately, it was too cloudy to really see a whole lot. But then we ended up going on the walking trail, and got to see the lagoon. Can't really see it much from here, but you can see some here, and I thought it was really cool just because of how high up we are. And then there was still like a water reservoir, and you could see like kind of like an island looking thing over there. It was really cool. It made up for not being able to see the view in the volcano, or from the top of the volcano. And then we went to the Starbucks after, just easily the nicest Starbucks I ever went to. Not a coffee guy, but it made me want to try some, and then I kind of changed my mind last second. But just very crazy. A little waterfall over here. Very peaceful out there. Some of the artwork right outside of it, and then this was for lunch. We saw a peacock. There were plenty of peacocks just walking around while we were enjoying our food. A couple birds I thought looked funny. Donnie asleep. And this is a picture we got of us in front of the lagoon for the people who went. And I just walked around the trail. And this is what we were kind of hoping to see earlier, but we did not. So Francisco photoshopped a picture of us. Or not photoshopped, he used AI. This was dinner, and the portions. It was really good, though. Enjoyed it. And so that was day 2. Couple other things we learned were that the Constitution, or the Costa Rican Constitution, took some ideas from the U.S. and French constitutions. We saw the statue of the guy who abolished the death penalty. I guess I didn't get a picture of him. But I remember playing Café con Leche on the way to the volcano, and Dr. Torres was laughing super hard, and that was probably one of the funnier moments of the day. Yeah, and we learned about how much of a priority the Constitution made, like preserving the land, and I thought that part was really cool, just because you don't see that too much. Nowadays, you just see it's all about architecture and things like that, and the preserving of land isn't as taken as serious in other countries. So I thought it was cool that they did that here. Yeah. So another thing we talked about were steps for getting a gun. On day 2. So this included like having classes, doing mental health training, and we learned that you only get 3 bullets, and about the rule where if someone breaks into your house, you have to shoot them in the front of the head and kill them, or else they can sue you, which I found kind of crazy. Or not sue you, but, charge you. And we learned that Costa Rica was the first country without an army, and that they used that money that they put into the army to use for education and security of the police. We learned about how some Catholic churches make beer, and I just found that very different. I really enjoyed the food in Costa Rica. I really enjoyed being able to walk up the volcano, even though we didn't see a whole lot. Another very good day. So now this is day 4, where we were at PLN and got to talk to the chairman. I kind of just jotted some points about how this went. So it was a very productive 2 hours. We asked him a lot of questions and learned a lot. So we learned about the revolution that got rid of the army, and which we kind of talked about before, but we learned that Costa Rica was one of the first Latin countries to give women the right to vote, and we talked about how PLN had major influence in Costa Rican democracy and social order. Costa Rica has 100% quality water in most places, but there is issues with sanitation and sewers. And a big part was talking about how power shifts peacefully from party to party. There isn't an immediate re-election, which kind of enforces the fact that there has to be change every 4 years. And I think that kind of plays a role in how peaceful this and stable the democracy is. Just because you're not worried about one person wanting to take over the country entirely. We talked about Oscar Arias and how he won the Nobel Peace Prize and avoided the death of millions of people. And that we were trying to ask the chairman what he would do if he was the president, and he said to put more money into education just because he felt like it was slipping kind of in the wrong direction. And so the country had a goal of putting like 8% of their GMP into education, and at that moment it was about 5%. And he feels like that was kind of part of why the education wasn't as strong as it once was, and along with not updating like curriculum. He felt like that played a big part too, and the same things are being taught now that were being taught years ago, which isn't the most helpful. So this is next day, day 5. We got to see the Irazu volcano, and the view here was much better. It wasn't as cloudy. It was still cloudy, but we could see some things like this. It's very nice. I remember not feeling the best this day, so I wasn't taking as many pictures. But this is the church we stopped at. Very nice, a very large church, and they were having service a day early, which was interesting. It seemed like people just were filtering in and out. We tried some holy water from here, and it was a very well-structured building. I was a little confused because they had like religious symbols down here, and then they also had like graduation stuff and random trinkets. I didn't completely understand what this was, but I still thought it was really cool. It's the church model of the church, and we got to see a dam. I'm scared of heights, but it was cool. I've never been that close to a dam. It's the other side of the street, and this is where we ate dinner. Maybe I think that was lunch, but again, very nice views. You can tell they take care of their land, and this is like a common theme throughout the country, and that's part of what makes it so pretty. More views. This is back at the volcano, and then this is now the next day. Another thing I wanted to point out was that people were just selling things outside of the church, and I thought that was different. Because you would think, people are just there for church and that's it, but people are also trying to make money out there. There's just like different ideas in Costa Rica, different things I was noticing. So this is now when we got to zip line. I took this picture before I had decided that I was just going to take my brakes off and try to get on the zip line, which ended up being a very good decision because zip lining was probably my favorite part of the whole trip. Um, this was the trolley after. This wasn't as enjoyable. The moving insanely slow and stopping and rocking back and forth. I didn't like that, but we made fun of it. Our group with Kat, Ashley, Tito behind me, and Gavin. And then this is the butterflies we saw after that just hopped on my back. And then this is now at the lodge. This is the alligator pond that I didn't get to see any alligators, unfortunately, but I guess it wasn't that big a deal. Again, you could just, like, the scenery is very nice. The water felt great. Like, uh, they just take care of their land. This is inside the lodge. We had 3 beds, very nice bathroom, very large bathroom. On the back, we had a view of a river. You could hear that passing. It was very peaceful out there. This is when we went to the cooking class, and my group, which was Wyatt, Gavin, and Michaela, we cooked some vegetables and herbs that were used for the rice, and the meal was actually really good. It was worth the wait because I remember I was starving before we came here. This is a bird at the lodge, I'm pretty sure. A frog. And this is now at an organic farm. This might have been the next day. This was definitely the next day. So we're at the organic farm. We got to try different things. It was very interesting. I enjoyed the starfruit drink. And that was probably the best coconut water I've had. I'm not a coconut water guy, but that was drinkable. The other stuff is disgusting. So this is the dog that was there. He was very kind. And that is another thing I've noticed was the dogs there that people had were very sweet, very quiet. They had 2 dogs here, and neither of them made a sound the whole time. They just followed us. The dog at the cooking class was very quiet until another dog started barking at it. But I feel like they train their dogs well, which is not normal in the U.S. It's the coconut water, some cows, and this was iguana when we made our bracelets. I had plenty of iguanas there. It was actually really cool. But this was the best meal I had of the trip. I remember I mixed basically all the stuff except the salad together and the plantain chips, obviously. But everything was added a little salt to everything else and mixed it all together, and it was super flavorful and definitely the best meal of the trip. Not the iguana, but. And then we ended the night by 5 of us going on a night tour in the rainforest, which is very cool. Saw plenty of animals. There's a frog there. This is a sloth, or 2 sloths. You can see its head. That's a baby's head. It's wrapping around the tree and stretching around its mom. Very cool. More frogs. We learned that the female is actually the bigger one, and the male just like hops on his back, basically. This is a cat-eye snake. We saw a bunch of those frogs. This is a toad. A spider, which is disgusting to look at, but she pointed it out, and I wanted to run away, but she seemed really calm around it. So she even picked up the skin that it just shed, or the coat it shed. This was a poisonous snake. I think it was called a featherlands, but she made us walk behind her and get around the snake. Very cool video of the frogs together in the rain. And it started pouring at one point. It made it feel more organic of an adventure out there. It's a stick insect or stick bug, whatever. Very wise looking frog. I forgot what this one was called, but she got some good pictures. and then we saw a millipede. And we saw a centipede during the hike, but we decided not to take a picture of it. We just wanted to get away from it. So, and this is us who went. There's a couple other people who went, but they went with different tour guides. So we had a great time. She was very good, and you could tell that she was very experienced. She would be able to see a bug or insect or whatever before she even like pointed her light at it. She just seemed to know already where things were, and she pointed out a lot of different animals to us, which is very cool. The volcanoes, that hike, and ziplining were definitely my favorite parts of the trip. And this is going to the airport. Got a nice view of a waterfall. It's me and Wyatt by it, and our whole group. And this is at the airport, saying bye to Francisco and Brandon. And so it was a great trip. I had a fantastic time. Got to learn a lot, and I really enjoyed seeing, the differences between Costa Rica and the U.S. and how I thought it was really cool. They took care of their land as well as they did, and it's definitely someplace I would like to go back to. The group was fun. Even like I feel like traditionally your teachers aren't as involved. But we were making plans to hang out with the teachers and stuff, and that was it was a good group to go with, and I'm glad I had that experience. So thank you.